Alright, time for the solutions for the angle side congruence assignment. So on this first section, you're saying whether or not two triangles are congruent, whether you have a guarantee of congruence, and then how you know. So here, on these two triangles, I have two angles and two angles that match. And since these triangles share a side in the middle, I can add a little tick mark there because of the reflexive property. And so I have angle, side, angle, side. These two triangles are congruent. So that's yes, angle, side. On 2, again, the triangles share a side, so you can add a little mark there. We have angle, side, angle, side. So we have angle, side for both triangles. This one's going to be yes by angle, side. And that brings us to 3. Right here in the middle, we have two lines that intersect. The opposite angles are congruent. So for the top triangle, we have side, angle, side. But on the bottom one, we have side, angle. So this one's going to be no. On 4, I can also add in those congruent markings because they're vertical angles, just like on 3. And that gives me angle, side, angle, side. So this one's also yes by angle, side. And that brings me to 5. We have a side and the opposite angle. So side, opposite angle. Unfortunately, that is not enough information to guarantee congruence, so that one's going to be no. And then on 6, I already have congruent markings, 2 angles and then the side, 2 angles and then the side, so 6 is going to be yes by angle, side. That brings us to the next section. We need to say what additional information we need in order to have the guarantee of congruence by angle, side, as it says on these. And so, right here, I can already add congruence markings because those two angles are vertical angles, and we already have two sides match up. So if you want angle, side, you need another angle. You need 2 angles and then the side after them. So we don't want these 2 angles to match up. We want the other ones to match because that'll give you angle, side. And so, I'm going to write down that is angle YSU is congruent to YZX, angle YZX. So there's that. 8, we can add a congruence marking in the middle because they share the side, so by the reflexive property it's congruent to itself. And again, we want angle, side, so we have angle, side, we want the previous angle on both sides. So that's angle UTV congruent to angle UIV. On 9, we can again add the congruence markings in the middle because those are vertical angles. And now we have angle, side. We want the previous angle on the angle before that if we're going around the triangles that direction. So we need angle MLN to be congruent to angle MBD. And that brings us to the last one on this little section here. 10, you can add a little marking there because of the reflexive property, they share the side. It's got to be the same for both. And then we have these opposite angles already. So we have angle, and then we're missing the other angle, and then we need to get side. Or we could go the other way. Angle, side. Just to have things kind of match up on the picture, let's have this angle. Let's have this angle congruent to this one, just so the picture makes a little bit more sense. So we have angle WXY congruent to angle DYX. And that's what we need still to have the angle, side congruence. And on the next 2, we have an angle and then a side, angle and a side. So we need the previous angle going the other direction, the one centered at those two corners. So we need angle x, y, w to be congruent to angle k, j, l. On 12, we can add our congruence markings there because those are vertical angles. And now we have angle side. We need the previous angles. So that would give us angle side. We need the one centered at x and s. So angle y, x, z congruent to angle y, s, u. There's that section. And that brings us to the last section where we had to write the proofs. So this is where you have two columns. On the left, you put your conclusions. And then on the right side, you put your reasons why you can make those conclusions, or the proof as to why that's right. You need to label your triangle, so I'm going to do it A, B, C, D, E, F. And now I can start writing things down. I know that this side is congruent to this side because it's on the picture. And if you can say, because it's on the picture, you can write given. So AB is congruent to DF. The next thing I know is I have these two angles that are congruent. Those are angle ABC, BC, is congruent to angle DFE, angle, and that's a given. And the other angles are also congruent, and centered at C and E, so angle BCA is congruent to angle FED, and that's a given. And then we have one last step, which is saying that those triangles are congruent. So triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DFE. And make sure you have it in that order. We know they're congruent by angle, side. A matches up with D, B matches up with F, notice the congruent markings, and C matches up with E. So make sure when you're listing, you list it in the same order. That brings us to 14. Let's add some labels here. A, B, C, D, E. And I'm going to put my columns here on the right side. Let's see, let's start with the side. I know BC is congruent to DC. DC. Yeah. Because that's a given, it's on the graph already. And then I know these two angles are congruent, so angle CAB is congruent to CED, and that's a given. It's on the picture already. We can add congruence markings for these inside angles. So I know that angle ACB is congruent to ECD, and that's because those are vertical angles. And then since I have angle side, I now know that those two triangles are congruent. So triangle ACB is congruent to triangle ECD. And make sure you have the letters in the correct order so they match up. And we know that's true because of angle, side. And that brings us to 15. Again, we need to add some labels here. A, B, C, D, E. I'm going to have the two columns here on the right side. Let's see, let's start with these sides again because that's a pretty easy starting point. So ED is congruent to BA. That's a given. It's on the picture already. And then I know these two angles are congruent. So that's angle BAC congruent to E angle EDC. That's a given. It's on the picture already. And much like the last one, these two angles in the middle are going to be congruent because those are vertical angles. So list angle BCA is congruent to angle ECD, and that's because those are vertical angles. Yeah, I think I could write legibly. Apparently not. Here. Vertical angles. And since we have angle side for both triangles, these two triangles are congruent. So that's BAC congruent to triangle EDC. That's by angle side. And finally, our last one, let's add some labels. A, B, C, D, let's do D, E, F. All right, so I need a couple columns. Let's start with the sides again. So AE, this side here, is congruent to this side here. And that's on the picture, so that's a given. DF, given. And then I have two pairs of angles that match up, so the angle centered at B and E, and then the angle centered at C and F. So those are two more givens that are on the picture already for us. So we got angle ABC is congruent to angle DEF. That's a given. And then angle BCA is congruent to EFD, angle EFD. It's a given. And we have angle side for both of our triangles. So those two triangles, ABC and triangle DEF, are congruent by angle side. And there you go.